It's always unique for the client. But it happens to me just about every day in my office, so it'd be very hard for me to pick out a certain one. Because they leave and I forget all about the session as soon as they're gone. Then I go on to the next client. But I have seen human bodies be put back together totally. And I've seen where they were going to have surgery and they wouldn't have to have surgery. They come in with back problems to where they're going to do back surgery on them. And during the session, you can hear the bones popping and cracking. And I asked them, the SC, what are you doing? We're just realigning the vertebrae and putting it back into place. There's no pain associated with anything they do. It's all done with energy, the white light energy, like electrical currents. But they said they're putting it together, and the client can hear this on the recording later, the popping and the cracking. I've had people with, what do you call it? When the backbones are bent, cirrhosis. I've had the backs be completely straightened out. I've had things that are absolutely impossible be done. One woman came to me and she was dying. She was on the hospice list. And she came in dragging in, using a walker, and her friend was with her. She's carrying an oxygen bottle hooked up to the oxygen. And she looked terrible. We had the sessions and her lungs were completely destroyed. The lower lobes of the lungs had been completely deflated, and the others were so full of junk that the doctors couldn't do anything. And she brought one of these big oxygen tanks with you, have the long cord with it also. So she brought that and put it in another room and hooked herself up to the long tube. Well, when we had the session, the SC began to work on her. It went all the way through the lungs, and it reinflated the lower lungs, the lower lobes of the lungs. And it cleaned out all of the junk out of the other parts of the lungs. And it does this very quickly. It doesn't take it very long to do it at all. And while we were doing all of that, the power in the building went out. Of course, I wasn't so worried about it because it's recorded now on the little digital recording. But the power went out. Well, the oxygen machine that was in the other room began making this screeching, horrible noise because the power had been cut off. And so I asked them, what's that? They said, oh, it's that oxygen machine. Go turn it off. She doesn't need it anyway. So I turned it off, and she didn't have any more oxygen the whole rest of the time she was there. But by the time we were finished, it was like a miracle. She didn't even look like the same person. Her friend came to get her, and she walked out of there with no problem whatsoever. And when she went back to the doctor, she told him, I want you to x-ray my lungs again and see what they look like. Especially focus on the lower lobes. He x-rayed and he said, well, there's nothing wrong with your lungs. But this is one of the success stories I like because the woman is telling everyone that she can meet about the story. Because this happened 2 months later, we had our transformation conference. She came to the transformation conference and she was running all up and down the halls and back and forth between the hotel and the auditorium, laughing and having such a wonderful time. And you wouldn't even realize it was the same person. And she ended up taking the classes, both of them, and she tells everyone that she can meet about the wonderful results that the doctors have no explanation for. But one thing I liked, she said, when she got home, we got a card from one of her daughters, and they said, thank you for giving us our mother back. And we just saw her again a few months ago at the Transformation Conference here, and they gave me a card. She has a brand new grandson. And they said she would never have been alive to see this if it hadn't been for the work you did. So that to me is the greatest satisfaction, to see these people's whole lives completely reinvented. And now she's helping everyone with QHHT too. This is where I get my happiness and satisfaction from teaching this, discovering it and teaching it, and wanting the world to know how powerful your mind is. I encourage anyone interested in quantum healing hypnosis to please take advantage of the training that is now available online. You can find it through my website, DoloresCannon.com.